Hello everyone and welcome to episode 2 of that's Massive Modding Manual, the Skyrim Massive Modding Manual, or So now we are going to learn in episode 2 how to actually start throwing some mods in here and installing them. But first, this is absolutely essential. We are going to need to clean all of the official DLC, and the update ESM. So you are now going to get to learn how to clean your mods. Exciting. So we're going to go into the drop down menu here and we're going to select SSE edit from the list. Now, if you don't have this here, watch the video prior to this one where I explain how to link your executables to Mod Organizer. But you should have it now in this drop down list so that it basically Mod Organizer accesses this external executable and runs it. So what we're going to do is clean all of the dirty edits, all of the dirty records from the update ESM and the official DLC, Dawnguard, Hearthfires, and Dragonborn. We're going to clean those mods up and get rid of the dirty edits. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So after you've selected SSE edit from the drop down menu, select just to the right hand side of that, this big run button, and it's going to load up. And we're only going to do one at a time. It's very important that you don't try to save multiple files at once in SSE edit. So for now, and we're just going to go down the list one at a time. So for now, we're only going to select update.esm and hit OK. Now, as update ESM depends upon the Skyrim ESM, it's also going to load that. That's okay. You will see more in here than update ESM. Don't freak out. That is supposed to happen. SSE edit automatically loads in any masters that your file is dependent on. So whatever mod or DLC or whatever file you load in, if it relies upon any masters, it will also load them in as well. Now, here's what we're going to do. You do not want to mess with the Skyrim ESM or EXE. We're only going to mess with the update ESM. So you're going to right click update ESM on the left hand side, and you're going to select apply filter for cleaning. Now this is going to take a moment as it applies this filter, and when it's done, you're just going to see at the bottom where it says background loader finished, it's going to say something like filtering completed. Filtering done. Processed records 906,171. Elapsed time 15 seconds. So now we're going to right click update ESM again and select remove identical to master records. Now it's going to give you a warning, you're about to ruin your game. There will be chaos and mass hysteria if you do this. If you have the slightest doubt, you shouldn't be doing it. And you're going to click yes, I'm absolutely sure. And here it says removing identical to master records done. Processed records 17,495, removed records 228. So those are all of the identical to master records that were in there that we just cleaned up, which is good. It's great because that's a lot of ITMs. Now we're going to right click again and select undelete and disable references. So go ahead and do that now. And when this is done, you will see at the bottom, undeleting and disabling references done. Processed records 17,267, undeleted records 91. Now, when you're done, all you do is close out of this. There's no file save as, file save, nothing like that. When you want to save your changes, you simply close out. And what will happen is if you've made any changes to any of the mods over here or any of the ESMs or ESPs over here, when you close out of SSE edit, it will automatically bring up that file to show you you've made a change to it and ask you if you want to save it. So let's hit that now. And you'll see here that update automatically popped up because that is the ESM that we altered, the records of this ESM. So what we're going to do is just make sure that this checkbox is ticked, which it already automatically will be when you do this. Now, what you can do is untick this if you realize after you've hit this X to close it that you've made a mistake somewhere or you did something you don't want and you don't want to save this, then you could untick that or just you could untick that and close out of this and it wouldn't save, but we do want it to save. So we're gonna just make sure it's checked off and hit OK. And you'll notice here after we've done that, we now have, if you click right here where it says overwrite, This is our overwrite folder, and anything that we change, any records that we alter, any mods or files that we alter in any of the executables here will pop up in the overwrite folder here and automatically overwrite anything you've got in your load order here. That's why it's called the overwrite folder, basically. But we want to actually create a mod out of anything that comes into the overwrite folder. However, we're not going to do this yet. We're going to wait until we clean the rest of these files. So we've done update. Now we're going to do Dawnguard. So let's just, with SSE edit selected already, let's just hit run again. And remember, you want to do these one at a time. You absolutely do not want to try to do these all at once and save them all at once. So we're just moving down the list. We're going to select Dawnguard ESM and hit OK. Wait for it to load in. Some of these may take longer than others. That's completely fine. Don't try to do anything until everything is completely finished loading. Just give it its time. Background loader finished. All right. Now we're going to right click dawnguard.esm. Almost selected the wrong thing there. Apply filter for cleaning. Same process as before. You're going to apply filter for cleaning, wait for it to finish, and then we can move on. Okay, filtering done. Processed records. A lot. There's a lot. It's like 1,004,620. So now we're going to right click dawnguard.esm, and just as before, we're going to click remove identical to master records. Always make sure you've applied the filter for cleaning before you do this. Please, it's very important to get the order on this correct. Always apply the filter for cleaning before you even touch any of this stuff. Okay, we're going to remove identical to master records. Yes, I'm absolutely sure. Removing identical to master records done. Processed records 98,000. Removed records 621. So there were a lot of ITMs there. Now we're going to right click and go undelete and disable references. And give it some time. It says undeleting and disabling references done. Undeleted records 82. Now it will give you a warning when you clean Dawnguard telling you that the plugin contains 57 deleted nav meshes which cannot be undeleted. Now there's nothing we can do about that, so you're just going to say okay and move on. It's okay. It will say that to everyone. It's no big deal. You're going to go ahead and continue on. Just ignore that message. So close this out and make sure that's ticked off so it can save it and hit okay. We're done with that one. Now that will go as well into our overwrite folder. So now you'll see if you double click overwrite this, if you double click this, it shows you what files are in your overwrite folder, and you can actually open up the overwrite folder from within your mod organizer install location, or you can even right click it and go open in Explorer if you ever want to see what all is in there. Now you can do that with any of the mods that we're going to install in here, is you can right click and go open in Explorer. And it will take you to their location if you ever need to alter anything. And we actually will in fact be doing that at some point. So, but at any rate, we don't need to do that right now. Just be aware that these files, after you alter them, the altered versions are going into your overwrite folder. And also SSE edit is automatically creating backups of those files in case you screw something up, that are going into the overwrite folder in a subfolder called SSE edit backups. And you'll see I've got a backup of the update ESM and the Dawnguard ESM files both in there in case I mess something up. I can always go back. But for now, we're just going to leave that alone and carry on down the list, moving on to Hearthfires. So run SSE edit again, select Hearthfires, hit OK, wait for it to load up. Background loader finished. Now we may continue. So right click, apply filter for cleaning. Okay, and it says filtering done. Processed records 923,000 and elapsed time. Now always make sure that you give SSE edit its sweet time and wait for the filtering to be done and all of that before you move on, and all of the loading to be done when you first load in mods before trying to mess around with anything. All right, so the filtering is done. So once again, we're going to right click, go remove identical to master records. Yes, I'm absolutely sure. And we've got 178 removed records there. Now we're going to right click again, undelete and disable references. And we've got 11 undeleted records, but this plugin also contains 5 deleted nav meshes, which cannot be undeleted. That's fine. Once again, ignore it. Nothing we can do about it. We still need to clean it. So I'm going to close this. Hearthfires is selected, hit OK. All right, and if you want to, you can double check here and you can see that our altered Hearthfire's ESM has gone into the overwrite folder. Now we're moving on to Dragonborn. Same process as before, load up SSE edit, tick off Dragonborn, hit OK, wait for it to load. Background loader finished. All right, and as always, right click, apply filter for cleaning. Again, always apply the filter before you try to clean these files. Okay, filtering done. And a lot of process records there. Now we're going to right click, remove identical to master records. Yes, I'm sure. Removed records 69. So there's 69 identical to masters in the Dragonborn ESM. Now we're going to undelete and disable references. And we've undeleted 8 records. And this plugin has 1 deleted nav mesh that cannot be undeleted. Now let's close out of this and make sure that's ticked off, hit OK. Now you'll see that all of these files have been cleaned and exported into our overwrite folder. Now what we're going to do, I'm going to show you how to make your own mod out of the contents of the overwrite folder, and we're going to be doing this a few times. So remember this one, it is a very neat, handy little tool. So we're going to right click overwrite, just this little bar that says overwrite right here, just right click it, it'll highlight in blue, select create mod. Now I'm going to title this, actually what am I going to title this? Cleaned ESMs. And I'm going to hit OK. Now, everything that was in the overwrite folder has gone into the cleaned ESMs mod that we've just created, and you'll notice they've disappeared from over here, and all that we have remaining is the Skyrim.esm. That's because the files from the overwrite folder were automatically put into our load order. When you create a mod out of them, it shoves them all into that mod, and until you select it, it's not active in your game. So we need to tick this off, and you'll see there are our updates and DLCs back, but this time all clean and nice and shiny and pretty. So I'm actually going to click on this and retitle this 00 space cleaned ESM. And the reason I'm doing this is because it's very important to keep your install order correct. The install order is extremely important, and we're going to, anything you install overwrites whatever came before it in this list here. And for some things to work properly, you have to install things in the correct order. And so it's very important that we do so. Now, if we ever mess anything up and we want to come back to it or rearrange something, we'll know that this, being the most important mod, was at the very top, and it's at 00. The next one will be 01. The next one we'll title 02. That way, if we ever mess anything up, we can go back here and see what we installed first and just go through the install order again, reselecting mods in the correct order and reinstall if we ever have to. Now, another good thing about that is you can sort these mods by priority by clicking the priority tab, or by mod name by clicking the mod name tab. Well, if we've retitled these mods as we install them by number chronologically in order of install importance, then it won't matter if we've hit priority or mod name. Either way, we'll be able to see in which order they need to be installed. If we ever mess anything up, we can go back and do it again in the correct order. So now you've learned how to clean mod files. Congratulations, you've moved a step up in your modding credentials. So you've got some mod cred now. So we've cleaned our ESMs, and now go into your mod organizer settings and go to Nexus, and make sure you select associate with download with manager links. That's going to make it so that anything that you download from within the Skyrim Nexus is going to automatically be associated with mod organizer and downloaded and processed by mod organizer. Now let's go over to plugins, go down to FOMod installer, and just make sure enabled and prefer are both set to true. And then you can close this out. We can start installing some mods. Yes. So let's get in there and do this. So the first thing that we're going to want to install, that I'm going to tell you guys to install, is Lanterns of Skyrim. Now, this is kind of a toss-up between Lanterns of Skyrim or Claralux. I think you can have them both installed as well, but I did for a while, and it was like there were duplicate lampposts and lights right next to each other everywhere, and it's kind of ugly. So here you'll kind of have to make a decision probably between Clarelux and Lanterns of Skyrim. I'm going to go with Lanterns of Skyrim. I have thought about trying Clarelux because I believe there are more tweaking options available for how bright and the brightness and the radius and the color tone and things like that within Clarelux. But I also think that it's a little bit less compatible with other mods, and we're going to go with the tried and true Lanterns of Skyrim. Now, that's a choice that you guys can make. This is, again, a lot of this is my preference. You guys might want something different, but you've asked for the modded to hell experience, and so that's what we're going to go for. So we're going to download this file. Now, this is, make sure always when you're downloading these Skyrim mods from the Nexus that you're on the Skyrim Special Edition version of the Nexus. Please double check that you've gone in here to the game and you've selected Skyrim Special Edition or changed it to that version of the Nexus. I actually have it added to my favorites so I can easily swap back and forth between the two. So you can add certain games to your favorites list and then just easily select it. So we're going to go to Lanterns of Skyrim Mod Manager download. Just left click that and just open that link. So now that you've downloaded Lanterns of Skyrim, if you'll click on the Downloads tab on the right side of these tabs in Mod Organizer, you will see it here downloading, although in my case already done because it's a pretty small file, 289 kilobytes. So all you're going to do to install this and get it into here, into the left-hand pane, is just double click it. Now, some of these you might have to manual install, but we're not going to do that. So all we have to do technically is hit OK, but what I want you to do first is just do this now and get it over with. Let's just title this 01 Lanterns of Skyrim. In keeping with our load or our install order priority. And now we're going to go ahead and tick that off, and it's going to put it into your game so that when you come over here to plugins, you'll see your very first mod. Give yourself a pat on the back. Lanterns of Skyrim, all in one, installed. First mod. Congratulations, guys, and you'll see it is in your load order. So now you're going to install the Lanterns of Skyrim Light Balance patch. And so you're going to come over here, and again, always make sure that it says Skyrim Special Edition over here when you're searching for a mod. In this case, though, we're going to search for Septum, and we're going to go to this. Let me find that mod again. By sorting by endorsements, it'll be at the top. Skyrim Septum, a load order and installation guide. So click Files, go to Lanterns of Skyrim Light Balance Patch Mod Manager download, and come over here, and there it is, already done downloading. And we're going to double click it, Lanterns of Skyrim Light Balance Patch, and this name that it's automatically given it is long and ridiculous and convoluted. So all you have to do is click this little drop down arrow and it'll usually give you different options. I like to name these in ways that will help me remember them. Sometimes I even add a parenthetical to the side and I'll put like reinstall this if you will need to do some things like that sometimes. For instance, when you're installing a mod, and there will be options for compatibility patches for other mods that you perhaps don't yet have installed or that maybe you're considering installing later. It's important to sometimes note things like that. Sometimes I'll put that in the title so I can see it right there every time I scroll through my mod list over here on the left pane. But at any rate, we are just going to go, we're going to title this 02 Lanterns of Skyrim Light Balance Patch. That way we'll know that it's always going to come at number 2, technically number 3 because this is titled 00, but those are just the the ESMs, the DLC, so not really a mod. So that's why I've decided to do that 00 for that one. So this is 1 and 2 on the actual mods. So Lanterns of Skyrim SE and Lanterns of Skyrim Light Balance Patch, and if you go over to plugins, you can see it right there. It's beautiful. Your second ever mod. Congratulations, guys. All right, now we're going to install the Unofficial Skyrim Special Edition patch. It's very important. It is absolutely essential. And go down here to Files, Mod Manager Download, and we'll go over here to Downloads, and you can see this one's a little bigger. So you're gonna actually get to see a mod downloading this time and get to see the process. I will cut and I will return when this is finished downloading. Okay, so my Unofficial Skyrim Special Edition patch has just finished. I'm going to double click it and install it. I'm going to go ahead and title this one 03 space. That's all I'm going to add. and then hit OK. And this one's going to take a second. You'll notice with some of the bigger mods, they're going to take a second to install, and they're installing to a virtual Skyrim install location, which is, I love that. Love that about Mod Organizer. And so it's going to take a second. It's a 177 megabyte file, so not huge as mods go. There are some quite a bit bigger. We will get into a couple, I think, that are around a couple gigabytes at some point here eventually. So, but anyways, okay, so that is installed. Now you're going to tick that off, and I'm actually going to go to the plugins pane this time so you can see just how beautiful it is when you tick that off, and bam, there it is. Oh my gosh. Now, anytime you add a mod to your load order by ticking it off over here in the mod packages area and adding it to your load order over here in the load order area, in the cases where a mod has an ESM or an ESP, it will pop up over here. But if it doesn't, if it's just meshes or textures, for example, you won't see anything over here. But that does not mean your mod is not installed. Only ESMs and ESPs appear over here. So if you install something that's just meshes and textures, as long as it's ticked off, it is still in that virtual Skyrim install. Even if you don't see it over here, that doesn't mean anything. Okay, so another thing to bring up is that the load order pane of Mod Organizer will give you little flags over here under the flags tab, under the flags column, I should say. And if you'll see here, the Unofficial Skyrim Special Edition patch has this little paperclip flag underneath the flags column. And so that's just telling you that it's got something to tell you here. And in this case, what that is, if you hover over this, it says at the bottom, there is an INI file connected to this ESP. Its settings will be added to your game settings, overwriting in case of conflicts. So it's a good idea to get into the habit of checking these flags, and we'll go over, eventually we'll get into what some of these other flags mean as you start seeing other ones aside from the paperclip. But it's important to keep an eye out for that, as these little paperclips contain important information, and then at other times, it's absolutely essential warnings can appear in the flags area, but we'll get into all of that later. So your third official mod, good job guys. The Unofficial Skyrim Special Edition patch. All right, next up, we're going to install the cutting room floor. And the cutting room floor adds back in several things, that were cut out of Skyrim, basically. So download cutting room floor. And here is an optional file you see, compatibility patch for RS Children. Now, we do not yet have RS Children installed, but we will be doing so. So we are going to need this patch. So let's go ahead and get it now. All right, now if we go to our downloads, you will see that cutting room floor is done. Let's double click that. And we're just gonna call this one 04 cutting room floor, the fourth mod in our install order. Now, if you ever need to reinstall, you'll know exactly what order to do so in, and Mod Organizer makes it easier than ever to uninstall a mod. You just untick the stuff, and then it's gone. It's uninstalled. If you were to load up the game right now, none of this stuff would be in your game. None of this would appear. You would not see any of this in game. And all you do to put it back is just re-tick it. Oh, the beauty of Mod Organizer. Okay, moving on. So we've got cutting room floor. Now we're going to move on to rich Skyrim merchants. Now, the author of the Septum mod guide advises to install the modern brawl bugs patch before this point. In fact, right before cutting room floor. However, the modern brawl bugs patch comes with enhanced blood textures, which we are definitely going to install. So we're skipping the brawl bugs patch for now. So again, moving on to rich Skyrim merchants. So let's go in here and grab this one. Go to downloads. It's done. Double click. Now, this option, you can select whatever you want. Do you want your merchants to have 2 times more gold than what they currently do, 5 times more gold than what they currently do, or 10 times more gold? I think 10 times more gold for the style of playthrough I'm going through. That's more, I'm aiming for something a little more realistic. 10 times seems like it would maybe be too easy. Like the merchants would just never run out of gold. I probably am going to go with 5. And even that might seem a bit too much. It's going to quintuple the amount of gold available for all vendors. You might want to go a little more hardcore and only double the amount of gold available from vendors. I'm going to go 5 times. And perk changes, we're going to go no. Because we're going to install Ordinator perks of Skyrim at a later time. So we don't really want any mod to change anything about the perk tree. So for now, let's just hit no on that. And actually, real quick up here, click on this before we forget. You can always do this later if you forget to add the little 05 up here. This is just to help us later on. If we ever have to reinstall anything or anything gets messed up, we'll know exactly in what order we need to do this. So I'm going to add the 05 and then hit install. And we're going to tick that off. Okay. Now what you can do as you install these, if you go to your downloads tab and you right click in here anywhere, you can remove installed, which will just remove it from this view, but will not delete the original mod packages in case you need to reinstall something. Or you can delete installed, and that will actually delete the mod packages. The problem with that is that if you ever need to reinstall one of these for any reason, you will have to re-download it from the Nexus. You won't be able to reinstall it from within Mod Organizer. So say that something happened and I needed to uninstall a mod, or I want to reinstall a mod, and that does happen. You can right click any mod over here on the left hand side and click reinstall mod and go through that process over again where we name it and select the options and so on and so forth. I'm not going to do that right now, but just to show you, for example, you can always right click and go reinstall mod. Now, if you've removed it from the downloads area though, and you've completely deleted it rather than just removing it, you won't be able to do that. You'll actually have to go back to the Nexus and re-download the mod. Important thing to remember and to note that. So we can remove installed right now, and that might be best because if you delete installed, again, you won't be able to reinstall anything without downloading it again. Now, if you feel comfortable with deleting them now, you can go ahead and do that, but I am just going to remove installed. This will remove all installed downloads from the list, but not from the disk. See, it tells you right there. That way, if you need to reinstall it, you can, because it's still on your disk. In the folder where Mod Organizer sends all of your mods, which I should actually probably show you guys in a moment, but at any rate, you're not going to need to know that now. So for now, I just want you to know you can clean up this downloads area, but just be careful how you do so, because if you actually delete everything installed, you won't be able to reinstall without going to the Nexus and re-downloading said mod. Now, all I've done is remove installed, and you see we've got nothing left here but this cutting room floor RS children compatibility patch that just says done but not installed, because we're not installing that until after we install RS children. So that's just going to stay there for now and just look like an ugly thorn in our otherwise beautiful and clean window pane here until we install it and get rid of it. But anyways, that's just to show you can right click in here and remove all installed to keep things tidy. All right, Rich Skyrim Merchants is done. Moving on. And you'll notice, guys, I am kind of trying to also walk you through a little bit of information and sort of just really basic tutorials on using these tools as we go. So that you guys aren't just sort of following something by rote, but not really knowing how to use these programs. I'd like for you guys to actually be pretty familiar with these programs and tools as well by the time this series is finished. So, because I think that would help you guys a lot. Then that way you guys are set free to do whatever you want and to be able to do things on your own, to not need anyone else. You know, it's, as the old saying goes, why is it always about horses? I don't know. But as the old saying goes, you know, something about you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Or is that the one? Or is it something about teaching a horse to fish? teaching a fish to ride horses? I don't know. Anyways, okay, so the next thing is we're going to go to realistic ragdolls and force. Of course. And this is that mod that gives the characters that nice crumple when they're hit, with an axe or an arrow. If you'll recall, the standard Skyrim experience is that the actors, the characters go flying when you hit them with things. Maybe you like that. Maybe you think that's hilarious, but this is more realistic. We like this. We're going to download this. Realistic Ragdolls and Force. You can download this optional file that increases fall damage. I have found with this installed that sometimes you're just trying to get somewhere and just dropping onto a rock that's not that far beneath you. And yes, it is more realistic, but it kind of just becomes a pain. I'm not going to install that. That is up to your own discretion and personal preference if you'd like to have that installed. Realistic Ragdolls and Force. And we're going to go with the realistic version. Oh, it's extracting files. Just give that a second if that is doing that to you, or actually just ignore it and move on. Okay, so because it's going to keep doing that until we install it. It's like imagine it being in limbo. It exists and doesn't exist simultaneously until you choose what files are going to be extracted. It's Schrodinger's mod right now. So basically we're going to select realistic Force and Ragdolls all and go install. And I forgot to title that one, you'll notice, to change the title. So we're going to go 06 realistic Ragdolls and Force, and we're going to tick that off. Okay, and you'll see it right there. And moving on to the next thing, we're going to get a font replacement now. Now, a lot of people like the Inderal font replacement. That one was not my favorite. I liked the Sovngarde, and I'm probably not going to spell Sovngarde right. So I'm just going to go, there we go. Oh, okay. Font replacement, replacer, Sovngarde. Mists font replacer, that's what you're looking for. Now I prefer this one. Many people prefer the Inderal font, so that's just up to you. And I will give you a heads up that this Sovngarde font seems to have some problems occasionally with apostrophes and things like that, where it'll just show up as a block instead. So just a heads up, you might want the Inderal font replacer instead, but if you want the true modded to hell experience, this is the one that I personally prefer. And we're going to scroll down to the light version. And that is the most downloaded version. If you ever want to know if the mod presents multiple versions of itself and you want to know, well, which one do the people like the most, you can look over here under the total DLs tab, and that'll show you which one people tend to download the most. And we're going to do that. I don't blindly follow whatever people download most, though. I actually installed both of these and checked them both out side by side, and I liked the light version the best myself. So I just happened to agree with everyone on this one, but you won't always, and sometimes you're going to want to check for yourself. So there, the Sovngarde font replacer is done. That's going to look a lot better than the standard font. So we're going to title this one 07 Sovngarde Mists font replacer and hit OK. And then we're going to tick that off. Now we're going to go to fast travel speed fix. Now the fast travel speed fix basically just tries to make it so that a realistic amount of time passes when you fast travel, so that, like, I think the authors of it calculated how much time it actually took to walk there on foot, and then made the fast travel take about that much time. Like, it adjusts the time scale as you fast travel, so that that way when you have mods like Realistic Needs and Diseases or Frostfall installed, you will suffer the appropriate amount for how much time you've supposedly been on the road. So for instance, you might, wake up at your new location starving or extremely thirsty or what have you, because the time scale during fast travel has been adjusted to be more accurate. Fast travel speed fix, we're going to install now as 08 and hit OK. Now we're going to get alternate start, live another life, and this mod is a lifesaver to people who download mods and mod their game a lot, because this makes it so you don't have to sit through the annoying carriage ride every time you start a new game. And when you're installing a bunch of mods, you're going to want to start a new game and test it multiple times. And this makes it so much quicker to do so. And also is just a great mod, because you don't have to sit through the carriage ride. When you start a new game, you can simply select what kind of life you'd like to lead in Skyrim, and it will set you upon your way. So we're going to double click that and go 09 on this one. Again, so we'll always know in what order to install these if we ever need to reinstall. And then tick that off. And now we're going to go to Better Dialog Controls. Go to File, Download. Go into your downloads. It's already done that fast. Very small file, 24 kilobytes. So let's go in here, and this is your 10th mod. Give yourself a big round of applause. It's your 10th mod right there. So Better Dialog Box Controls, then we're going to go to Better MessageBox Controls. Here we are, Better MessageBox Controls. Come down to Files and Mod Manager Download and get that. Better MessageBox Controls. Title this 11 space. Okay. And tick that off. Now we're going to get a quality world map, which is pretty self-explanatory, I would think. Now there are multiple different versions of this. You will have to just use your discretion, but if you want the exact experience that I'm going for, that is going to be the Vivid with Stone Roads version right here. And you'll notice quite a few people agree with me. And I have actually compared these, and the paper one is pretty cool. I'm tempted a lot of times to use it because it feels more realistic. Like if you're really living there, then you would probably be using a paper map and looking at it. And that is kind of neat. For people who use that, I commend you. That's respectable. I think that's cool. So, you know, definitely read about these if you want. Check them out. A lot of people prefer the classic. I just like the Vivid with Stone Roads personally. So let's go ahead and download that. Okay, now install this and name it 12 space a quality world map. And then tick that off. Now we're going to download SkyUI 5.2 SE is the latest version. Mod Manager download. Download. Now this mod does require the Skyrim script extender 64. So if you have not been following this, go back to the first video, the previous video, and watch the bit on installing SKSE64. That's the new version of the Skyrim script extender, and you're going to need that for SkyUI. So let's go ahead and install this one now. For those of you that have been following this tutorial series from the beginning, you will already have that installed. So let's go ahead and install SkyUI 13, take that off. Now we're going to go ahead and install SkyHUD. Okay, and we're going to go down here and click Files. And this is an all-in-one installer that's going to come with multiple options. And so I'm going to let you guys check that out and see what you think. All right, now this is another reason why it's important to sometimes clean your downloads window pane, because here you'll see that SkyHUD has a title 74cc.7zip. So if things start to get a little cluttered in here, it can be confusing as to what mod is what after a while. And believe me, we will run into that problem once we get to where we have like 600. No, we're not going with 600. That's too many. But when we have a substantial amount of mods and we're in the hundreds, you're really going to want to try to keep this pretty tidy if you can. So that's another reason to clear these up after you've installed them, because you might eventually get to where you have a bunch of mods titled things like 74cc9xzq, and you're going to be like, what? Now you can always hover over it or just double click to see what's in there. But anyways, so we want to try to keep that tidy. So this is going to be 14 SkyHUD, and we're just going to proceed. There's nothing you can do but proceed here, but you might want to read this and it will tell you some things. It's basically just trying to get you to read before you install so that you're aware of exactly what you're doing. Now we are going to go with SkyHUD default on this, but there are a bunch of different options. I'm just choosing what I like. You might like another one of these better. So check out these presets. Look at the screenshot on the left to see what they're going to look like. This one has more of a vanilla compass. This one's vanilla but smaller. This is the SkyHUD default, which I prefer because I like the compass style a bit better and the layout. But then there's also one that's more similar to Oblivion. So definitely check those out, look them through. But I personally use the SkyHUD default. You can choose something other than that if you wish. Now we are going to install the SkyHUD compatibility patch. The reason for that being is I love the SkyHUD's default dot crosshair and the smaller compass, but if you just install SkyHUD, the compass is always there. Now I haven't looked into it a lot. You might be able to change INI files or change settings to get the compass to disappear when you're not using it like it does with Immersive HUD. I don't think so though. I think it's always there. But with this compatibility patch for Immersive HUD, we can install iHUD and SkyHUD and have them work together for good. And that way we will get the benefits of the SkyHUD's small dot crosshair and smaller improved compass with the awesome disappearing act HUD elements of Immersive HUD. So we're going to install that now. And now you will notice this time we have run into our first warning flag. Under the flags column for SkyHUD iHUD patch, you'll notice it has a little warning exclamation mark right here. And if you just hover over that, you'll see highlighted there under missing masters, it says ihud.esp is missing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and install iHUD or Immersive HUD right now. And there it is, Immersive HUD iHUD. And we're going to download that. And this is another one that requires the Skyrim script extender. So again, if you have not installed the Skyrim script extender, go back, please. And now actually, I want to change this a little bit. I'm going to install iHUD, but I actually am going to move it to 14 and SkyHUD to 15, just because SkyHUD contains an ESP within it that requires Immersive HUD to run and treats Immersive HUD as a master. So technically I should have probably installed, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but we're going to put 14, Immersive HUD as 14, since something within SkyHUD requires this be present. Now you'll notice that flag disappeared under the SkyHUD and iHUD patch. Now if I untick Immersive HUD, you'll see this little warning comes back, telling me that it's missing a master that it is dependent on in order to function. Now, if we tick that again, the little warning flag goes away and we are good again. Okay, now we're going to install Static Mesh Improvement Mod. So search for that on the Nexus and scroll down here to Files. Now this is a bigger file. As you can see, it's almost a gigabyte. So I will return when this finishes downloading. Okay, Static Mesh Improvement Mod has finished finally. So I've double clicked it to install, and it's going to take a second because again, it is a big file, almost a gig. So just give that a second to run. Okay, now once it pops up here, we are just going to, let me expand this. We're going to select Skyrim 2016 Special Edition everything. Everything. Some of this will be overwritten later, but for now, we're just going to select everything, install. Okay, and I have forgotten to give this one a numerical value, so I'm going to put 16 in here, Static Mesh Improvement Mod, and that's a big one, that took a bit. So we're going to tick that off and give it a second, and here it is, Static Mesh Improvement Mod Special Edition merged all. And then we're going to go in here and we're going to get Ruins Clutter Improved. This is another fairly big file, so give it a second and I will return when it's done. I changed my mind. Let's use this time while Ruins Clutter Improve installs to go ahead and clean this up a bit by right-clicking and selecting Remove Installed. And then we should have two things left when that finishes, that being Ruins Clutter Improved, which is currently downloading, and the Cutting Room Floor and RS Children patch that we will install later on. And there it is, and there's our Ruins Clutter Improved. Now, while this is downloading, we might as well go ahead and get the next thing from the Nexus and have a couple of downloads going, which is something that you can do. So we're going to go get Belt-Fastened Quivers right now. Download that. Now let's go and get the XP32 skeleton, XP32 Maximum Skeleton Special Edition. The XP32 Maximum Skeleton Special Extended. And we're going to go to Files and select Mod Manager Download, Download. Now you'll notice these other files were small, and so they've already finished downloading before Ruins Clutter Improved has finished. So let's go ahead and just wait for this to finish. Okay, Ruins Clutter Improved has finished downloading, so let's double click that. And we're going to go ahead and go to a custom install, click next, and we're going to install the enchanting stations, HD enchanting stations, HD spider eggs, HD pots, and HD doors, improved ruins doors. And that's all we're gonna do, although you could do subliminal traps. I usually play with subliminal traps installed because it seems ridiculous to me that someone would set up a trap in a dungeon and then make it really easy for people to find the trap by painting a neat little symbol on it. So if you want that, you can install it, but we are later going to be installing a mod that makes traps more deadly and dangerous and will kill you instantly. So this is kind of up to you. If you want to go the full hardcore experience though, we're going to go subliminal traps plus tougher traps, deadly traps. So it's up to you if you want to actually have to be really careful in dungeons. And keep in mind, this is going to be with lighting mods installed that make the dungeons much darker as well. So you might actually want to leave that unticked. I will leave that up to you. I am just warning you right now with some of the mods that we are going to install. If you hit a trap, you will die. And it's going to be dark, very dark. You're going to need a torch. And if you have subliminal traps, that's just going to make it further difficult. So that's kind of up to you. I'm going to go for it, but actually in my previous install, I didn't. I thought that might be too much. But I'm thinking about it now and I'm thinking, yes, I want the full hardcore experience. So I'm going to do it. But just so you know, it's still a modded to hell experience if you were to push out and select and deselect subliminal traps here. I'm going to go ahead and do it though. So there we go. So we got enchanting stations, spider eggs, HD pots, improved ruined doors, and subliminal traps. Okay, we're going to install that now. Oh, and I have almost forgotten 17 space ruins clutter improved install. Okay, now we're going to tick that off. And you'll see we've got our first flag over here in the mod package pane. And basically this is telling you that this particular mod you've installed has files within it that have overwritten another mod that comes before it. And in this case, it's Static Mesh Improvement mod, which is why we installed this first, because there are some items in Ruins Clutter Improved that overwrite the Static Mesh Improvement mod. Now, as I said before, anything that becomes before in your load order will get overwritten by anything that comes after. Or in this case, if you're thinking of it in a vertical column, since anything above gets overwritten by anything below. So the lowest item in this mod package window is going to take precedence or priority over the ones that come before it. In this case, number 17, of course, takes precedence over number 16 and is overriding some element of Static Mesh Improvement mod, as indicated by the little lightning bolt with the plus symbol means that there is something overriding another file. The little lightning bolt with the minus symbol means that there is a file being overwritten. Now, if you double click the mod and come over here to the conflicts tab, this is where you're going to find out what mods have elements that conflict with other mods or overwrite them. In this case, Ruins Clutter Improved is overwriting 33 files, as you can see in the little 33 window right here, that are contained within the Static Mesh Improvement mod number 16 in our load order. And this shows you exactly what all files are being overwritten. Now, in this case, this is good. We want this. It's okay for these files to be overwritten. It means nothing. We want the Ruins Clutter Improved files to take precedence over the Static Mesh Improvement mod files in this case. However, if you were to want to leave the files from the mod that came before it and let them still take precedence, even though they're lower in the install order list, you can come in here and right click on these files individually and click hide. And that doesn't actually delete your files. It's a very easily reversible move to come in here and hide these. In fact, I'll do it right now just to show you what happens. If you hit hide, that file will disappear and will not overwrite whatever the file was in your static mesh improvement mod. Now, if we come over here to the file tree and click on textures and click on SMIM, or static mesh improvement mod, and click on clutter and click on ingredients, here you can see the file that I've just hidden. Now, this is actually a better window from which to hide and unhide files, because you can see that it's sort of blanked out and it says it changes the name to .mo hidden or mod organizer hidden. So basically what this is doing is removing this one particular file from your game install to allow that exact file, whatever file is being replaced in static mesh improvement mod, to take precedence over the bone meal texture that Ruins Clutter Improved provides. But we don't actually want to do that. We want to go ahead and let Ruins Clutter Improved overwrite those files within static mesh improvement mod, but I wanted to show you guys how to do this. So if you have conflicts, and in the case where you would actually want the file from static mesh improvement mod to come through and to take precedence, you can find that conflicting file, take note of it. You can hide it here, but I would like I said, I would recommend you go to the file tree, find out exactly what file it is, and we are going to have to do this soon, so it's good you guys learn about this a little bit now. Go to the file tree, find the file, the offending file that you want to let a mod that came before it take precedence instead, and just hide it. Now in our case, we don't actually want that, but I wanted to show you how easy it is to just unhide something, and now it's back in our game. Easy as that. So we're going to go ahead and close this out now that you guys know how to do that. Just be aware that when you see this little flag with the lightning bolt, something somewhere is being overwritten. And we do want to avoid that as much as possible. And in fact, if I wanted it to be really clean, I could go into static mesh improvement mod and go to conflicts. Now, when you go to the mod that's being overwritten and go to conflicts, it's going to show up in the bottom pane and show you this says providing mod. Now there's nothing under the overwritten mods column because you're already on the overwritten mod. That's what you have selected. So it's not showing you anything because you already have the one that's being overwritten selected. So it's only showing you the providing mod of the one that's overwriting the mod you have selected. That's what this all means. I hope I explained that well enough. But anyways, so the providing mod in this case that is providing an overwrite to the mod you have selected is Ruins Clutter Improved, and it shows you all of the files that you have overwritten. Now what's kind of confusing about this, and this took me a while to get at first, is that just because this says Ruins Clutter Improved does not mean these files over here, if you go to mess around with them or hide them, are from Ruins Clutter Improved. These are showing you the files in static mesh improvement mod that are being overwritten by Ruins Clutter Improved. So, and why that's important is if you were to select one of these and go to hide, you would not be hiding the mod or hiding that file in Ruins Clutter Improved. You'd be hiding that file in static mesh improvement mod because that's what you've got selected. So if we really wanted a super clean install, we could go in here and hide all of these files within static mesh improvement mod that get overwritten by Ruins Clutter Improved, close this out, and then those little lightning bolt warning flags would disappear. And you know, we might want to have a really, really clean and efficient install since we're trying to go for such a high mod count, but most of the time it really doesn't matter. Overwriting files really doesn't matter. For the sake of your own sanity, you might want to do things really efficiently and cleanly, but it doesn't matter. We want those to be overwritten. It's not like there's going to be an excess of files in the game because those just get overwritten and therefore taken out by the files in Ruins Clutter Improved that take precedence. Okay, moving on. Belt-Fastened Quivers, which we've already downloaded. We're going to double click that, and we're going to name this 18, if any of that was confusing to you guys, I can explain that again, and we will be going into more of that later. I just kind of wanted to give you guys a rudimentary understanding of what's going on there and how to do that. So there's Belt-Fastened Quivers. Now we're going to go to XP32, Maximum Skeleton Extended. And I'm going to hit next here. And on this one, you can do BBP, which is breast and butt physics, or you can do HDT. I'm going to do HDT because this is good for CBP physics, which is sort of the newer physics. I say newer, it's kind of just a temporary physics while we wait on proper HDT for the Skyrim Special Edition, but it is what we're going to be using. So I would recommend HDT, but it really doesn't matter too much here. You can pick either one. We are eventually going to need this though. It's not available currently. It's only available for Old Rim. But once we get HDT physics capes and HDT physics hairs and equipment and things like that in Special Edition Skyrim, we're going to want this skeleton rig map anyway. So I would prefer that. But the author of the Septum guide recommends you do BBP. I did this one, had no problems. It was fine. So, I mean, I would recommend it personally because we are going to eventually need it. And in fact, I don't remember what it is right now off the top of my head, but I think there's something that we're even going to need it already in this load order before even waiting for the mod authors to update these hairs and capes and equipments and things with HDT physics. So I would select that one for now. But I guess I'm just telling you all that because I don't think it's really going to matter too much right now which one you pick until a lot of those mods that require HDT physics come online for the Special Edition. At any rate, select HDT, hit next. And then on here, Joy of Perspective, you can select default if you're not using, this is another choice you guys are going to have to make. Now, okay, here's why. I personally prefer the enhanced camera mod, but it's not yet available for Skyrim Special Edition, and who knows how long before the mod author updates it. Basically, he has to completely rewrite it with the new version of Skyrim script extender. And until he does that, there's no telling when the enhanced camera mod will come out. And so if you want first person camera where you look down and can see your body, or you can go into first person on your horse and things like that, you might want Joy of Perspective. That's going to be completely up to you. Now, I initially installed this because I was waiting for enhanced camera and realized that with my EMB and with the one that you guys are also going to be installing, it centers focus for the depth of field on the center of the screen. So when your character's riding a horse, a lot of the background is blurred out, which is really annoying. So I thought that for some reason I remembered incorrectly that Joy of Perspective allows you to change to first person on a horse. And I thought, well, that will fix my problem. I'll just go into first person when I ride a horse, and then I won't get this blurred out depth of field with my EMB where when I'm riding a horse where all of the background is blurred. Then I installed it and quickly realized that actually the Joy of Perspective mod does not change to first person when you're on a horse. There is a separate mod that does that though. So I'm just going to leave this on default and not install Joy of Perspective, and choose to instead, in lieu of that, wait for the enhanced camera mod to be available for the Special Edition. But if you guys want to see your body and don't want to wait for enhanced camera, or think that the mod author might not do it for a long, long time, and you just really need to see your body when you walk around, go ahead and get this. It is much improved since a lot of the older versions. It's not wonky. You can install the standard vanilla first person animations for bows and things like magic casting, so it's not all weird and things. So do that if you want. This is completely up to your discretion, and it would be a pretty damn modded to hell experience to install this. I'm just going to choose to wait for the enhanced camera mod, and hopefully the author will port that over to the Special Edition soon. I would do it myself, but that one's a little more complicated since it's written for a specific version of the Skyrim script extender, and I don't know how to do that yet. So I'm going to select default. You guys can install Joy of Perspective. It's up to you. If you do plan on installing Joy of Perspective, select this option to use this, but do not select it if you do not have Joy of Perspective installed. All right. So moving on, and then I'm going to select Belt-Fastened Quivers right here. So we're going to hit next, and hit next again. And then all of these options are just automatically selected. This installs the skeleton for all of these creatures. That's fine. You want to hit next and install. Now let's tick that off. And you'll notice this is overriding something too. Let's double click it and find out what. This is overriding realistic ragdolls and force. And that's okay. We want to go ahead and let it do that, but we want to let them both remain installed. The parts of this mod that are overwritten though are fine. Those things are contained within this mod anyways. So we're going to let it overwrite realistic ragdolls and force. That's completely fine. Now we're going to start Skyrim and create a new game and make a test character to make sure that everything works. But before we do that, I just want to show you guys really quickly here how to use loot to sort your load order now that we actually have a load order to sort. So select loot from the drop down menu and then click run. Now, if you have any problems running any of these executables from within Mod Organizer, I've had that happen occasionally. A couple of times I've had to restart my computer and it's worked again. So if you do have any problem like that, sometimes it just happens. Hopefully you won't have as many problems with a fresh install of Mod Organizer, but occasionally if you get something like that, just try restarting your computer or restarting Mod Organizer. That's worked for me. It's only happened a couple of times though. At any rate, it's working now. Again, make sure this says TESV Skyrim Special Edition at the top. You'll see all of your mods here and there will be notes on each or warnings, or it'll tell you if you need to clean a mod, if there's a dirty mod installed. And now that you guys know how to clean them, if you do see that warning pop up, you'll know what to do to clean your mods. Now we have one warning here, and that warning is just you have not sorted your load order this session. So to sort, we come up here to, which for some reason when I open executables from within Mod Organizer while I'm recording a video, I don't think you guys can see my cursor. Can you see where my cursor is? At any rate, on the top right here, there's a little like 3 bars that kind of looks like a Wi-Fi signal bar almost, or like half of one. You're gonna click that, and that's sort plugins. And you'll see the warnings have gone from 1 to 0 and everything is sorted. Now here's a big apply button. If you don't hit apply and just close this, it will not sort your load order. You have to also click apply to apply those changes, and then you can close out of loot. And you'll see it did make a change. So already loot is coming in handy and our load order is now sorted correctly. Now we're going to launch the game. Make sure Steam is running first of all, or your game won't launch. So let's open Steam and I'll let that connect. Okay, now that Steam is running, let's select SKSE from the drop-down menu. You are always going to launch Skyrim from the Skyrim script extender from now on. You will no longer launch Skyrim from the Skyrim Special Edition EXE or the Launcher EXE, but always from Skyrim script extender. Once you have mods installed that require the Skyrim script extender, you will launch your game from then on with the Skyrim script extender executable. So make sure you select that from the drop-down list and then click run. And you'll see our nice new Sovngarde font is installed and looking pretty. Now we're going to create a new game. Now this is just a test character, so I'm just going to select done and name it tester character. Now I'm going to hit the tilde key and change my field of view to 95. I like that. You guys can not do that. It doesn't really matter for testing purposes. It just drives me crazy if I don't do it. Okay. Now you'll see that we've got iHUD working in that we have no HUD until it's context sensitive. So if you look at an activatable, you get your little crosshair there, and it is the awesome SkyHUD crosshair, the little dot crosshair. Let's select the statue of Mara and select we are camping in the woods. And go ahead and activate the bed, and that will send you to the life that you've selected at the statue of Mara. In our case, we're going to be sent out into the middle of the wilderness. Okay, so here we are. Everything seems to be working fine so far. What I want you to do to test your load order so far is hit the tilde key to go into the console and to type TMM space 1, enter. And that will toggle all the map markers on the map on. So you'll see here, we've got every location. And what you need to do is basically go to an area with a lot of people and shrubbery and trees and things and test everything out. Make sure everything's working, everything's smooth. There's not a lot of huge problems. I prefer Riverwood. I guess it doesn't really matter too much, but I like to test this out at Riverwood. All right. So here we are in Riverwood, and just kind of run around, get a look at things, test things out, make sure everything's working correctly, make sure everything's smooth. Now, everything looks fine on my end. I've got no crashes. And I'm going to, just for the sake of the tutorial video being short, I'm going to go ahead and get back to that. However, you guys really might want to, as I have actually done and will do off screen, go to a few different places, go around, make sure everything is looking fine and functioning properly, okay? Don't just like jump into one place and then take my word for it and be like, oh yeah, it's fine. Just, you know, like make sure you give it a little time, run around, test everything, make sure it's all good. Either way, let's make a new save right now for our test character in a new slot. And this is what we will load up every time we mod the game and come back in here to test. It'll load right here. And I'm going to load it one more time. I like this little view right here so that when we add a bunch of mods and load this back in, we'll just see this beautiful Riverwood vista just laid out before us. And that will be so wonderful, won't it? So I'm going to create one more new save. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and quit the game now. And that's going to be it for this video. And we will come back to this save and load it many times to test our load order step by step as we go. So meet me in the next video for the next section if you would, guys. If you like what I'm doing, feel free to give the video a like and leave a comment if you have any questions or any suggestions, or even if you have mod suggestions maybe that I haven't heard of or haven't tried. And let me know how it's going with your modding journey and your process, and how everything's working out for you, and if you have any questions. And if you like what I do and you'd like to help me make more of these, feel free to pledge $1 to my Patreon to help me continue to bring you this content. As always, it's not obligatory. Just support me in any way you can. I appreciate you watching my videos and supporting me that way just as much. But if you feel like I contribute something of value to you and you would like to help me out, please consider doing so. And as always, thanks for watching, guys.